Okay, thanks, John.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Folks, now, I want to make a couple of announcements. We used to have a few minutes before we close. Kathy O'Brien and Mark Phillips will be at the San Ramos Hotel May the 5th at 7 o'clock. Their lecture is Mind Control Out of Control, so be sure to go there, you folks in Las Vegas. And also, for $49.95, you can pick up 6 shows, 12 hours total of this show by calling 800-205-6245. And also, if you're interested in picking up the second hour of this show on a regular basis, be sure to get yourself a shortwave radio, which you can also purchase by calling that number. Chip, we'll have to go into this MIA POW issue, I think, on the second hour, and also the conditions under which you were arrested and how you were set up and framed, also with your wife. But do you have any closing comments you want to make right now about what we discussed yesterday, today, also on the 23rd? Anything that we should talk about?
I don't think so. I think I would like to let the folks know where they can get those books again.
Go ahead.
The Tatum Chronicles are available at 1-800-201-7892, 1-800-201-7892, extension 58. Operation Red Rock, License Pegasus is what I call it, my first part of my autobiography, is available if you'll make check payable directly to me at P.O. Box 895082, P.O. Box 895082, Leesburg, Florida, 34789.
And while we're talking about this, Chip, you want to just mention for the first hour, the date and time you were arrested? We'll go into the details in the second hour. Let's go to introduction right now on that.
Sure. I was initially arrested on, let me see, it was, I think around May 11th, 1995.
And what were the charges?
The charge was varying. It was supposed to be a fraud charge, conspiring to defraud. However, it turned into treason charge.
And what were who arrested you?
The FBI.
Where did they arrest you?
In Denver, Colorado.
And what were you doing in Denver when you lived in Florida?
I wasn't living in Florida. I live in Florida now.
Oh, you live in Denver at the time?
I was living in the Denver area at the time. That's correct.
And specifically, you say treason, what were the treason's charges, details?
Well, that was to be determined. I guess the FBI can obtain an arrest warrant or hold you for 3 days on, without anything.
We'll go into that in the second hour, folks. Ted Gunderson, Intelligence Report. Thanks for tuning in. First hour. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. And good day, all you beautiful people around the world. To our friends in the United States of America, a great country. We need to keep it free. Freedom of speech, religion, and the press, of course. To our friends in Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica, and we had a call, as I said the other day on the show, from South Wales not too long ago in England, and our friends in the rest of Europe, Asia, South America, and Africa. Welcome to the Ted Gunderson Intelligence Report. On the first hour of this show, folks, I read from the Dallas Morning News, May 1, 1997. Normally, I do not repeat my little introduction from one show to the next, but this is so upsetting that I have to tell you about it, those who did not hear the first hour. Washington, D.C., hoping to speed the adoption of children from abusive families, the House said Wednesday that social workers should put less emphasis on trying to fix broken families and more emphasis on finding children safe homes. The House bill, approved by a 416-5 vote, was triggered by were languishing for years in foster care while social workers tried to rehabilitate birth parents so their children could be returned to them. The House bill says the highest priority must be the safety and well-being of the children, not family reunification. States would now get cash incentives to move children from foster care to adoption. The federal government will give each state $4,000 for every child adopted out of foster care above the number of the preceding year, and a $6,000 payment would be made for children with disabilities. Folks, this is organized kidnapping. We're not only doing it through legislation, we're doing it by the CIA operation called the Finders out of Washington, D.C. I have a report on this, a U.S. Customs report that documents the Finders has been in operation, according to my informants, since the early 1960s, specifically to kidnap children for the international trafficking of children. This has been brought to the attention of the Attorney General of the United States, to the FBI. The FBI closed down the investigation. The State Department closed down their investigation when it came to their attention in 1987. And the Customs Department U.S. Customs closed down their investigation because the Metropolitan Police said that it was a CIA internal matter to back off. Okay, folks, if you want a copy of that report, along with other information about organized child kidnapping, you can send $15 to Ted Gunderson, Post Office Box 15,000-259, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89109. Okay, and my guest today is Chip Tatum. Chip, this is his third show, or what is this, third or second? This is the second show, third show, isn't it, Chip?
That's right, that's third show.
Third show. We're doing a series of 5 shows, excuse me. We've already done one. We're doing a series of 5 right now. Total of 12 hours. And I urge you, for this 12-hour show, this is without the commercials, to send $49.95 for these tapes, these audio tapes. Make copies, get them to your friends, get them to that next-door neighbor you've been arguing with for years over the New World Order, and call 800-205-6245, 800-205-6245. For those of you who did not have an opportunity to listen to the first hour of the show, if you're listening on shortwave, contact your local AM/FM station and tell them to call the American Freedom Network and get Gunderson on the show, because he, along with a few other talk show hosts, are telling it like it is, getting the word out to the public. You need to educate yourself, educate your neighbors, educate your friend and your family. Unfortunately, it's not a popular issue, but who cares? The main thing is to get the word out. Chip, welcome again to the show, and thanks for appearing, and particularly for these 5 series shows that we're going to be doing. On the first hour, folks, we were talking about 1971, Nixon, Kissinger, and also Alexander Haig. We discussed in detail the Operation Red Rock, which was the American invasion and destruction of the airport in Cambodia, and Chip was involved in that raid, and they were dressed in North Vietnamese uniforms, and we started to get into Chip's arrest. Of course, when you come forward, when you're a whistleblower, you have to suffer the consequences. And in the CIA, normally it's one of two choices. Either they neutralize you, which means they kill you, let's face it, or they arrest you and set you up and put you in jail. And this is what happened to Chip, and I would guess the reason they arrested you rather than neutralized you physically is because you had some information stashed around at various locations that would be quite embarrassing to them if you are neutralized. Is that right, Chip?
That's right, Ted. In 1995, and I believe the date was May 11th, just preceding that, and during the month of April, I had taken a trip with my wife. We had gone down to Honduras to retrieve some of the documents that I had tucked away earlier in years, which implicate and show the involvement of the Iran-Contra players, being Oliver North, William Barr, the U.S. Attorney General, and others, in the manufacturing and trafficking of cocaine. We had the flight plans documented down there being held by a trusted Honduran government official. I contacted him. He asked that I come there. He didn't want to bring those documents into the United States, so I went down. I was followed when I went down. We saw the man who was tagging us. We were able to...
Fly commercial?
Pardon me?
Were you flying commercial?
We flew commercial. We lost him in Honduras. I was able to rendezvous with the man, pick up the documents, certified copies of the documents, and then I returned back to the United States. 2 weeks after my return to the United States, I was arrested. All of our household goods were gone through item by item. They were looking for the documents. They held me without any initial charges, and then within 3 days they told me they were going to charge me with a fraud charge. Well,
they being the FBI.
Sure, you can file anything that you want with the federal courts. I mean, the chief judge, one of the chief judges in one of the U.S. federal court districts said that she can get an indictment on a ham sandwich. So that's not a big item. You just have to have a federal official, an FBI agent, come forward and say he did it. I say he did it.
Okay, time for a quick break, folks. We'll be right back. Ted Gunderson, Intelligence Report. And we're back, and my guest today is Chip Tatum, 25-year veteran, deep cover CIA. And we received a call on the break from Chester, England. We're coming in loud and clear in Chester. Hello, our British friends. By the way, any of you folks around the world that want a copy of these 12-hour interviews, of this 12-hour interview, 6 shows with Chip Tatum, you can send a fax to 970-587-5450. 970-587-5450. 5490 for any of our friends around the world who want to obtain a copy of the audio tape of these series of shows with Chip Tatum. And get them, folks. Get the word out. Tell the rest of the world what's going on in America. And we have a caller, Paul, on the line. Paul, where are you calling from?
Colorado.
Another Colorado friend. Okay, how you doing? I hope you're a friend. Are you friend or foe?
I'm a friend.
Okay.
Yeah. Chip, I heard you mention on the first program some corruption about the Denver International Airport, and I was wondering to what extent, like, say, maybe the governor or the mayor or what the public officials here had to do with that, or if you could just elaborate on the corruption involved in that.
Are you there, Chip?
I'm here. I'm trying to recall what I said about the Denver International Airport. I know that I was on a previous program with another person who had talked about the Denver International Airport and the corruption, and that was Stu Webb. However, the only bit of awareness I have on the corruption on the Denver International Airport is the fact that Morris and Knudsen was the architect on the airport, and they were also one of the prime contractors, and that's a big no-no. One of the attorneys for Morris and Knudsen is a trusted friend, and he had talked about some of the items to me in confidence.
Yeah, I think you mentioned something about it had to do with like the bonds or something like that they were the bonds they floated to get the airport built, and how it was way over budget.
Yeah, I don't think that was me, but
no, that wasn't Paul. That was somebody else. That wasn't Chip. I think it's probably Stu Webb. You must have heard it on another show.
Okay.
I don't recall that Chip has talked about the International Airport at Denver, but I tell you, I've been through there, and I have to say I've seen some. Let's be frank, okay? I've seen satanic signs in the airport.
Yeah.
Those statues and so forth would indicate that there's a satanic. Somebody involved in constructing the airport has some. Put up some satanic signs. It's that simple. Have you noticed this, Paul?
Yeah, I had another question on Vietnam.
Uh-huh.
And I was wondering, what do you know about some base that was up in Laos? It was on the top of like a mountain peak. Because I was in Vietnam, and I remember we flew up there and picked up some American soldier up there, and it was way up in the middle of Laos, somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, and it was like on a mountain peak where it was basically virtually impossible to get to except by aircraft.
I know that we had set up several communications facilities throughout Laos to monitor what was going on in as far as movement through Laos with equipment. We did that with American soldiers, we did it with Special Forces, we did it with CIA, and we did it with the Hmong tribesmen. So that particular mountain, who knows on that particular mountain?
Yeah.
That's probably pretty common, wasn't it, Chip?
Sure it was.
Yeah. Any other questions, Paul?
That ought to do it, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for calling in.
Okay, bye.
Goodbye. And Chip, let's get back to your arrest by the FBI. So they searched your house, couldn't find the papers, and they charged you. Then they charged you with treason and then fraud, or what?
Well, first of all, they held me and said that I conspired to commit fraud. That's a pretty easy thing for them to prove. All they have to have is one person saying that I conspired with him. Subsequently, while being held in the federal holding facility, I was visited by some government people, and they said, "We want the documents. We want them now." I told them, "You can't have them. That's terminal to give you these documents. I'm not going to do that."
What federal officials? What agency did that?
The Secret Service.
Okay. Now we got Secret Service in that. What did Jimmy Durante used to say? Everybody wants to get in the act. Go ahead.
Everybody wanted a piece of me, I guess.
They still do, Chip.
I understand that, Ted.
Go ahead.
So I told them that was terminal. If they want, if the only alternative I could see was to simply discredit myself. That way, the documents that I did have, if they came out, I would not be a credible witness against the people involved. So I told him what I'd do is I'd plead guilty to this conspiracy charge, conspiring to make a false statement to the FDIC, or actually conspiring to not disclose information to the FDIC is what it was. I'll plead guilty to that if you'll leave my wife out of it. So I pled guilty to it, and then I'll plead guilty to it, and it'll be done. So I pled guilty to it, and the next thing I knew, they charged my wife in it. So I said, okay, that's it. I pulled my guilty plea, and I was shipped down to Tampa, Florida, to Hillsborough.